Good morning. It is just about to become light and I'm going on a bike ride. It's not too cold, but it is still a little bit foggy. So let me put on my gloves here. Okay, here we go. Yeah. It's kind of a quiet morning. Even the birds are quiet. Good morning. Another early person who goes for a morning walk. Just a second. Just gotta adjust my coat here a little bit. I've got a new basketball, or I never had a basketball, but I got a basketball, and I used it yesterday at the little basketball court near my house, and this morning in the gym I used it for the first time, and I felt that my skill to hit the hoop it has improved, because this is my ball and I'm playing with my ball, and it is really nice to sort of use this ball to symbolize my success. And yeah, and regardless of whether my ball hits the hoop, you know, I just enjoy playing with it. So when I'm in the sports club, I'm not only using this ball to aim at the hoop, but I also kick it against the wall, and I catch it again, and I dribble it a little bit, and then I throw it from close by or from far away. And yeah, it's just real fun. Good morning. Oh, there's a bunch of birds sitting there. Yes, these are geese. Yeah, those are geese. They have landed on their way to warmer countries. And they land here sometimes with a whole bunch of them, and then they fly away again. And so, yeah, just gonna have these geese here for a little bit as my background. You see them? They're getting a little bit nervous that I'm standing here. But it's okay. I'm not doing anything. I'm going already. Bye bye. It is such a good morning this morning today. I'm so, fully rested and just feeling fortunate because of my new, oh, there they go. They just decided to give a little show here. Isn't that pretty? There they go. Morning. I can look into my camera to see what is behind as a sort of a rear view mirror. I never even used that as a possibility. Yeah, this is who I am when I'm totally myself. And there are many different circumstances that can somehow prevent this or distort this or affect this in such a way that I cannot be as comfortable as I am right now. That I cannot feel as satisfied as I am right now. That I cannot talk as slowly, as calmly, as cautiously as I do right now. And when I say cautious, I just mean that I only say what I want to say. And I realize that when I'm not like this, I still say sometimes things that I don't want to say, but for the most part, I don't do that. And for the most part, I've given up on that, and I'm capable of having this. I'm even feeling a little warm because it is not that cold. So just gonna open my coat here and give myself a little room. It's not that cold. I've written another piece last night, which I believe has to do with what I am currently experiencing, and also what a wonderful sleep I had last night. I went to bed around 6, and then I woke up at around 9, and I was up for about maybe an hour or so, and then I fell asleep again, and then I woke up at around 4. So let's see, 6, 9 is 3, and then from 10 till 4, wow, that is 6 hours. So I slept 9 hours. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that's wonderful. These days, I have better sleep than ever, and it is really because I am not taking any responsibility for anybody. Yeah, I'm not trying to have embodied language with people anymore. I'm just having it by myself, and that is sufficient. And yeah, okay, if there is somebody who can have embodied language with me, then I'm willing to see if that is true. Yeah, I'm willing to give everybody a chance to see if they fit with my requirements, to see if they can live up to my expectations, because yes, I don't have any hesitation to say that I have expectations, and that unless my expectations are fulfilled, I'm not gonna bother. And so you have to do what you need to do to be able to have embodied language with me. It is just that simple. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. But then I don't want to talk with you. I don't need to talk with you. I don't feel like I want to. And so that has really liberated me to be able to finally come to terms with that. And yeah, my own longing, of course, to have embodied language with you has, yeah, you could say, fallen by the wayside. Because I've had embodied language with many people, and I've enjoyed it. I would still want it, but I will never ever have the embodied language anymore in the way I've had it before. Because every time I've had embodied language with others in the past, and not in the recent past, I should say, because I recently had a conversation with a person from Kuwait, believe it or not, who actually still believes that he is a Muslim. And when we talked, he realized, like, yeah, a belief, any belief, not my belief, not anyone's belief, but any belief is just another version of a person's illusion about inner language. And so when I explained this to him, he realized, yeah, that is something of such a different order, that when you listen to yourself, you don't adhere to any belief. Yeah, embodied language is not a belief. And listening to yourself is not a belief. And also, of course, when you do not listen to yourself is also not a belief. You really are not listening to yourself in your usual way of talking, which is disembodied language. And so when you finally begin to do that, you cannot help but acknowledge that you have believed in all kinds of things because you were not listening to yourself. But once you listen to yourself, you don't have any belief. And it doesn't matter whether you are a Christian or whether you're a Muslim or whether you are, whether you have any kind of belief of any kind. Your belief is not who you are. And your belief is always a reference to, oh, look at that. Yeah, these geese that are flying there. Beautiful formation. These geese that are flying there. Isn't that pretty? That's not a belief. Yeah. And yeah, they say seeing is believing. But in embodied language, we say hearing is believing. And it's kind of paradoxical because, of course, what you see is not a belief and what you hear is not a belief. But we talk about it that way because we are used to disembodied language. Seeing is just seeing. I see it. Yeah? So what you see can be really what is there, and what you see can also be what you imagine to be there. And so your belief, or your so-called imagination, is another reference to inner language. And we have been so enthralled with our imagination, with our creativity, with our inventiveness, with our ability to make up things, to find another explanation. But once you begin to listen to yourself, there is no other explanation than that you were not listening to yourself before. And once you listen to yourself, you realize that, oh, now I'm listening to myself. And all these things that were happening to me while I was not listening to myself, all these things that I believed were happening were merely based on my own way of dealing with language, which was created by the conversation in which I didn't and couldn't listen to myself. Because let's face it, you didn't listen to yourself because you couldn't listen to yourself. Why? There was no motivation to listen to yourself. Without the motivation to listen to yourself, you're not going to listen to yourself. And where would that motivation come from? Yeah, motivation is another word for reinforcement, actually. Because if you enjoy your own sound, well, then your own sound is self-reinforcing. If you enjoy what you're saying, if it is meaningful what you're saying, if it is helping you what you're saying, then what you're saying is reinforcing. But if what you're saying is troubling you, is impairing you, is making you feel imprisoned, is making you feel like shit, okay, well then it is punishing. And then you want to quit doing this kind of behavior. You want to quit having these negative outcomes. And most likely you will escape in some kind of other behavior, usually some kind of belief about something that supposedly makes you happy, that supposedly will fulfill you, that supposedly will do the trick of making you successful, in spite of the fact that you have not acknowledged that you are not listening to yourself. Yeah. So yeah, when you finally begin to listen to yourself, you realize like, wow, I kept falling from one belief, from one assumption into the next with my disembodied language. And I've never continued with, maybe a few moments of embodied language. You've never continued with that. You were never able to continue with that because there was no, and this is the second part of why you don't have any motivation. Yeah, you don't have any motivation to have what I have because you were not reinforced to have this. If you were reinforced, let's say for instance you go to college, yeah? Let's say you go to college and you let's say you were born and raised in a family and you learned about the Bible and you were raised Christian. I was raised as a Christian. But you go to college, you learn about evolutionary theory and you learn about science and you learn that, wait a second, there's a different explanation of things than the explanation you have learned from the Bible or from your culture, whatever culture you were raised in, it doesn't matter. All cultures have their own superstitions, yeah, and they have their explanations about why things are the way they are. But these are wonderful cultural manifestations, but they're not the truth. They're not in any way scientific. They are simply the way people have believed reality to be. And they shared that common belief. And because of this common belief, they have banded together. This is what historically has happened. But then, when you come to college and you learn about evolution, then let's say for instance you take a class in evolutionary theory in science or in in biology or in evolutionary psychology. There's all these classes you can take and you realize everything is different. And you will, if you want to pass that class, you better stop talking about your Christianity, you better stop talking about your religion or your cultural superstition. No, you have to give answers to questions to test your knowledge about evolution, that there's no goal to evolution. No goal. And there's no higher power that has designed everything. That doesn't exist. So if you want to pass that class, you will only be reinforced for passing that class. You will only get an A if you give the scientific answer to the questions that sort of test your knowledge on this subject matter. And so you will be reinforced for having the right kind of knowledge about how species have survived in different environments and how they have passed on their genes to the next generations. And so species have come and gone. Many species have disappeared, they no longer exist, and we human beings are part of that evolutionary process. And it is you could say it's miraculous that we are the way we are, but it is truly wondrous that we are indeed who we are, and that we have language, and that that we can that we can talk about our experiences, and we can talk about our environment that we live in, and that we can do all kinds of things to make our life better with science, because that is ultimately what science does. If science is used correctly for the right purposes, then we make life very comfortable and safe and happy and fulfilling, because we are now stimulated. We are reinforced. We are reinforced for the behavior which makes us happy, and that includes, of course, our embodied language. You've never been reinforced for embodied language. You've always been reinforced only for disembodied language. So you couldn't have the perception, you couldn't have the explanation, you couldn't have the understanding with your language about how to actually not only survive, but how to thrive. I'm thriving, obviously. When you are very happy, when you're totally coming into your own, you thrive. But people have not thrived in the sense that they haven't had the language in which they expressed their own experience correctly. And so they couldn't do that because they weren't listening to themselves. They were again and again distracted, upset, stressed out, fearful, primarily fearful. And you cannot listen to yourself, because listening to yourself is a luxury. A luxury one can only afford in the circumstances that make it possible. Look where I am here right now. I'm walking here by myself in the early morning, and I'm having this conversation. You could say with you, but you are not here. I'm having this conversation with myself, by myself. And if you read my writing on my other channel, which by the way is called Maximus Peppercamp in small letters. Just one word, Maximus Peppercamp, with one P. Maximus Pepperkamp, and then a horizontal little line, horizontal line, and then HW number 8 SW. HWSW. So Maximus Peppercamp, horizontal line, HW8 SW. That is my other YouTube channel. You can listen to my other YouTube channel and you can hear more about this, what I wrote last night, because I will be recording that when I get back from my little bike ride, which at this moment is just a nice little walk here at this foggy morning. The fog is still slowly disappearing. It's so nice, such a nice calm morning. I love it. So just to let you know, and just for myself also to because I've only just started to understand this myself, that people could not have the embodied language which I wanted them to have, because they have never had the exploration which is necessary to be able to have it with others, in which they could be reinforced. So there is this aspect about embodied language in which you just enjoy it on your own, where you discover the difference between your disembodied language and your embodied language, and then you say, okay, I want to have embodied language. That's I feel better about that. I feel that's what I want to do. So okay, So you want to have embodied language because you just enjoy it. You say these wonderful things which you never say when you have disembodied language. Okay, so now it's only to the extent that you have enjoyed that yourself, that you have truly went into that. Truly, not just for some time, and not where you fall back again into your beliefs in inner language, because at some point people always fall back into their conditioning history, which is inevitable. Yeah, everybody does that. We were all conditioned, we were reinforced, like I said, for our disembodied language. So you will have to, on your own, counteract that conditioning. You will have to stop your conditioning history with your disembodied language, and you are the one who has to do this. I cannot do it. So when you have done that often enough, then you can have embodied language with me or with some other people. Yeah, other people who have also done what we are just describing. Yeah, and so unless these other people have done what you have done, unless you have done what I've done, we cannot continue with our embodied language. And this is why embodied language has never continued. Our embodied language, even if we've had it, even if I've had it, yeah, I've had embodied language with other people, but it didn't continue. It couldn't continue because the other people didn't do what they were meant to do, or not meant to do, what they had to do to be able to have embodied language with me. So at some point it became clear that I was again the one who was, carrying the load, so to speak. And I cannot do that. Because that is not part of my embodied language. So it comes down to also when other people, this is I believe something very, very important for other people to understand, because those people who have had embodied language with me, they are disappointed, they are pissed, they are still frustrated that I have rejected them, and that perhaps I didn't even tell them because I didn't want to have that conversation with them. And yes, I have separated myself from these people. I have abandoned them, or whatever you call it. I have not continued with them because I didn't want to. And now they are on their own. But there is, of course, a way to repair. There is a way to reconnect. But such a way is only possible if they do what it takes to make that happen. I cannot do it. Yeah? And so there is that possibility, but whether that possibility is going to be achieved, it all depends on what they do. And so in that sense, it is very, very important. You don't have to apologize to me. You don't have to, feel bad, or I don't have to forgive you or whatever. There's no such thing. But what matters is that you begin to recognize that you were not doing exactly what I was explaining, and that you have let me do that. And if you cannot, and so, okay, I am okay with that. I mean, in the sense that I will always do whatever it takes to have embodied language. And so I'm grateful actually to those people who have left me, or I've left them. I'm grateful for the people that have come and gone, so to speak, because I have been able to explore my embodied language further and further because of that. All the problems that have been involved in what I'm describing, the problems involved in continuing with my embodied language with others, they have further established me in my embodied language. And yes, you could say I've used other people for that purpose. And of course, I've used other people for that purpose. I only do what's right for me. And so And that is not malicious, that's just how embodied language works. Anyone who would have ongoing embodied language and who would get their embodied language further reinforced by me would have to continue on their own with their own embodied language. Look, you can have embodied language with me, but if you, while you have embodied language with me, do not have enough embodied language with yourself anymore, then talking with others, with me in that case, becomes more important than talking with yourself. And that is where things go wrong. In embodied language, it is talking with yourself and listening to yourself, which is always, always, always more important than talking with and listening to others. And yes, if we truly have ongoing embodied language with each other, then we talk with each other, we listen to each other as if we are talking with ourselves, as if we are listening to ourselves. Now, that's a nice conclusion of today, isn't it? Yeah. Now,